Welcome to this week's edition of Negro Please. I'm Dallas Scott. That's my phone. I'm the guy.
Whose phone is that? Who didn't turn their phone in?
Was it me?
Oh my God.
I do this like every other week or so too, and I'm telling you, I'm Dallas. This is Negro Please. I'm Dallas Scott. You know Hollywood Huff. Eric Kelley's been here a few times before. Finally, Natalia Hernandez joins the show.
Hey.
I've been begging her for a year to do this show with us, and she's like, well, I don't really feel like doing the radio anymore.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, finally.
I'm here.
We have a lot of things to talk about. We're going to talk about the Breonna Taylor no decision to file charges, with the exception, well, nothing related to her actual death. The charges were filed, but nothing related to her actual death. Natalia wants to talk women's empowerment and WAP.
Yes, there's so much going on with WAP these days.
Yes. I mean, I'm a big fan of WAP. Outside of ice cream, it's probably my second favorite thing.
Absolutely. And when I say WAP, I'm talking wealth, assets, and property.
Oh.
But we'll get into it.
I don't really care about that one. That doesn't really interest me that much anymore.
Okay.
We are going to be joined here shortly by Freddie Maxie, who's our resident legal expert. Because Freddie posted something on Facebook the other day, and from a legal perspective, I was shocked. Now, Freddie's a black man who went to law school and leans generally pretty liberal, but his point on the Breonna Taylor caught me off guard and shocked me. I was like really surprised, and we're gonna have him call in, but I'll start real quick. So Freddie said, I feel like we get a lot of misinformation from Louisville and Kentucky to begin with, right? Like,
Yeah.
every time something new comes out from them, it's exact opposite of what they said it was before.
Right.
So Freddie's take is that legally, if they had a no-knock warrant and they busted through the door,
Right.
2 a.m. in the morning, the boyfriend has every right to fire because he doesn't know who's coming into the house and he thinks he's being robbed or mugged
Thinks
or
it's a home invasion. Right.
or something like that. So he has every right to fire.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The police have every right to return fire because they're being shot at.
Yes.
Right. Makes sense.
So there was nothing illegal about them shooting and Breonna. Unfortunately, she gets hit because she's sleeping, but there's nothing illegal about that particular part of the incident.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
Eric, let's go through your background one more time. 10 years deputy sheriff, 10 years U.S. Marshal, 36 years
Firearms instructor.
firearms instructor,
Training, use of force, defensive tactics, legal issues, all that good stuff.
all this stuff.
All that
So
good stuff.
Freddie talked about the fact that like there shouldn't have been any charges filed against them because they didn't do anything illegal at that time.
That's correct.
If it was a no-knock warrant,
Right.
which they told us from the beginning. In fact, they said no knock, no knock, no knock. The city
Yeah.
council voted and said you can't have no-knock warrants anymore.
Right.
Right.
Because
Because it was a no-knock.
Everything about it was a no-knock.
Right.
Right.
Now, Daniel Cameron's coming out and saying that it wasn't a no-knock warrant.
That they knocked and
Right.
yeah.
It was a knock and wait warrant. And Freddie's opinion is legally, if it's a knock and wait warrant, then they're all guilty of murder because they didn't knock and wait. They just kicked through the door.
Right.
So the question is, I mean, the final answer should be, was it a no-knock warrant, yes or no? Was it a knock and wait? Was there an announcement? Was it before you went in? Was it after you went in?
Yeah.
All of that stuff. And what's really odd about this thing, in my perspective, is that why do they keep changing their mind?
Mm-hmm.
Why is
Right.
the correct version not been sung from the moment it started up until current?
So
And
this
that's what's weird.
and
For
this
me,
is,
that's
this is what I think is the beef that most of us have with the police is they come out with a story when something happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever a grand jury or they have to get a story together before they present it to the public, always in the end, there's a ton of information that's different, as if for the last 30 to 60 days, we haven't been repeatedly hearing story A. And then when they make their final decision, it's, oh, well, see, you guys got the facts wrong, and this is what really happened. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We've been getting the facts from y'all.
Right.
Like, you are the ones who delivered this news and said it was a no-knock warrant this entire time.
Well,
And now all of a sudden, no?
Well, no, I mean, but this is the biggest reason why you have all this uprising and tearing shit up and stuff, is because you come out with information that's not correct. There's a reason why they have media relations people.
Mhm.
They're
Right.
supposed to sit down in a room and go, "This is what we want people to know. This is what happened. This is how it happened." The standard administrative leave, officers involved, blah blah blah. But the narrative is supposed to be the same damn narrative across the board, and it should never change. So when it does change, it drives people crazy. Or what's even worse is like, well, we have a story to tell you, but we're going to wait 3 days to tell you.
Right.
So then
Right.
people start making their own shit up because they don't have anything to go with.
Well, I think for me, it's not even the details of the warrant, whether it was a no-knock or a knock. For me, it's the other details of the case that disturb me, such as not getting medical treatment for Breonna Taylor right away, not having an ambulance on standby, which was supposed to be the protocol in those types of warrants. They dismissed the ambulance, and then the ambulance was late, and they didn't, give her medical aid in a proper amount of time. And, the warrant was supposedly obtained sloppily. And those types of little things add up also to
Yes, they
such
do.
negligence. So, there's so many other factors outside of what they actually did and how they covered it up. In the report, I don't even think that they reported her injuries. Like, there's so many inconsistencies in the police's story. So with the grand jury, how are we supposed to believe that story after they've already lied to us? And today the ballistics report came out and it was inconclusive. So they can't even blame Breonna's boyfriend for shooting that officer in the leg because
Well,
the
see, that's the
ballistics
thing.
didn't match up.
That's why they let him go originally,
Right.
Because they were like, well, all the rounds he was hit with
Right.
came from the other cops' guns,
Right.
Right.
Which made me
Friendly
think of
fire.
like a really bad, like movie where like they had like almost like Training Day, right? Where like they
Right.
got the crooked cops,
Yeah.
and they let that guy go in the door first, so they can
Right,
shoot him
yeah,
in the
yeah.
back, and then blame it on somebody else.
Right.
Right.
Like that's how I felt about that when it first happened.
So here's my biggest beef about this entire thing. So me as a civilian, and Eric, I've sat through your class 50 times, right? So I am responsible for every single round that comes out of my pistol if I use it,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I'm in a Walmart parking lot. Some guy rolls up on me. He pulls out a machete. I pull out my gun and I fire off 8 shots. If 6 of them hit him, I'm responsible for the other 2 wherever they went, right?
Right.
If one of those bullets hits a random grandma,
Yeah.
I'm now charged with murder, right? Because I
Manslaughter, at
killed
least, yeah,
grandma. Manslaughter, right?
At least.
So these police officers, they kick in the door. What? I don't care. Nothing matters, right? He fired first. They have the right to fire back, right? Clearly, they missed him, and they hit her 8 times. Now, I don't know the situation, how dark it was, light it was, whatever, right?
Eric's already told us that police officers
He's-
can't shoot though.
This is right, right. So this is
Not all. Don't say all.
So this is
Don't
what
say all.
this is my thing, right? The boyfriend supposedly had a rifle, an AR. That's super loud.
Right.
So Breonna might have been in bed, but she wasn't sleeping no
Wasn't-
more.
no,
You know
right,
what I
no,
mean?
no,
Like,
you're definitely
when
not
he
sure.
fired the AR, she woke up. Maybe
It's
she
like the
sat
day
up,
we were
whatever,
at the
right?
range and you switched from the 9mm to the AR.
Yeah.
And I was in the lane next to you and I jumped like almost pissed my pants because it was like boom and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, an AR, if you don't know, is 10 times louder than a pistol, right? So
Freddie, are you with us? Do we have Freddie?
Yeah,
What's going on, sir?
nothing much.
Thanks for joining the show. For those of you who haven't heard Freddie on our show before, Freddie, where'd you go to law school?
Louisiana State University.
Oh, one of those guys.
okay. So Freddie,
National champion.
give me 1 second, Freddie, because I need you to chime in on this as well, right? So talking about, if I fire my gun and I, as a law-abiding citizen, and I have my CCW and I have a pistol, if I shoot at someone and I miss and hit someone else, right? So that's a little backdrop on the story just to get you caught up, right? I'm charged with murder for hitting other people who didn't have anything to do with the person who was trying to kill me. These police officers, they kick in this door. They get shot at first. They're shooting back, supposedly at the boyfriend, the guy who's shot at them, right?
Mm-hmm.
They miss him.
Mm.
They've now hit an innocent bystander who just happened to be laying in bed, Breonna Taylor. So my question is this: why are they not charged with something for hitting a person who was basically still lying in the bed? because they've been charged with the bullets that went through the wall and endangered other people who didn't have anything to do with it. But they haven't been charged with the bullets that actually hit somebody who didn't have anything to do with it. Because she wasn't shooting. She was asleep until, at least, I imagine, until the shots went off.
I heard you guys a second ago, and I think the big thing is trying to figure out what facts are actually correct.
Well,
because I know as far as the sleeping in bed thing, from what I've read, they said that she wasn't in bed. She was actually in the hallway, which is where the boyfriend was that was shooting. So she was somewhere close to him from the facts that they give now. They said when they found the body, she was in the hallway. So I know everyone says that she was laying in the bed when she got shot, but I mean, it's more plausible to believe that she was in the hallway. If she got hit 8 times, it's kind of
Yeah, I mean,
to hit someone shooting from outside the apartment and hit them in the bed 8 times. So.
Right, like we just said though a minute ago, like that's the problem though with this story is that we have
Yeah.
so much. Well, today we're saying it's this, and then tomorrow we're saying it's that.
right.
From a legal aspect, Freddie, like, and I know you're in Texas, so, and every state has little nuances that are different in the law. Where's the line on them being charged and not being charged?
Again, this completely different state, but like you stated earlier, you stated it pretty well. I heard you when you were talking about my personal opinion. Like I said, if it's a no-knock warrant, I feel like they were completely it's one of those weird things where I think both parties are justified if it's a no-knock, because they do have castle doctrine in that state. So if they kicked in his door and he doesn't know it's the police, of course, if he knows it's the police, he can't shoot at the police. However, if a random person kicks in your door, you don't have to wait to find out if they're coming there to harm you or if they're just coming to say hello or whatever. You can shoot. So he had every right in the world to shoot at them. However, if it's a no-knock warrant, it means that they legally had the right to kick in the door. So if someone fires at the police and they have a legal right to kick in that door, they're going to return fire. And if she was standing beside him, then you don't know who's shooting at you.
Right.
If you kick in a door and you come through the door, it's probably dark. So all those things factor in. Now, like you said, if they had a knock and announce warrant, they're supposed to knock and give a person time to come to the door and open the door and at least announce that it's the police.
Yeah.
They said they announced it was the police, but they never said they knocked and waited.
Well, you know,
But-
part of the whole question is too. I mean, first of all, 2:00 in the morning is an odd place to go in to get a person based on what it was they were looking.
Yeah, it wasn't. He wasn't
the guy
up for.
for.
It wasn't like he was
So-
murder or major felony here. It was
Why-
a minor drug charge, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
why 2 in the morning? Why 2 a.m.? Why the way they did it? Why the no-knock warrant? You could have come at 6 a.m. You could have come at 10 p.m. There's a lot of things I have questions about why there. How many officers came through the door? I mean, what's the correct answer, right? How many shots were fired? How many shots were fired in that direction? And I heard the same thing. She was not in her bed. She was up. She was moving. She was in the hallway,
Yeah.
and which makes more sense.
Right.
That they opened fire.
Because
on
when
the
they
guy
say
shooting.
she's in the bed, to me, like the mental picture is that,
She's
like,
laying there asleep.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then they come into the door and somehow make it to the bedroom, and the boyfriend's shooting. Like, otherwise,
Yeah.
like, if they're downstairs or in another room, like, how are they shooting? I mean, obviously you can shoot through walls, but if they're shooting what they should be shooting, protection ammo, like we
Yeah,
shouldn't
the
be at
bullets
that-
wouldn't be going
or-
through walls and just lighting everything up.
So, Eric, my question for you is, whose responsibility is it? I'm sure you've served a million warrants and you've went and got people. Whose responsibility is it to double check and make sure the warrant is correct, that we don't already have this person in custody for speeding or some other, like, where does that responsibility lie?
So it starts out with, the origins of the information that they need in order to get the warrant. Okay, then it goes through the DA, prosecutor's office, whoever it is that sets it up. The criminal side of it is that the law enforcement officers involved are going to, do all the back check, check with the any kind of snitches or anybody,
Right.
witnesses or informants or whatever to get that information. And then as part of preparing all that goes to the prosecutor, obviously you're going to check for warrants and connections and who else might be in the house. And then depending on what kind of a crime you think that this person associated with is involved in, if it's drugs, do we have to worry about additional things? Is it, meth place might blow up. So do we need to take that consideration? If it's violence only, is it, drugs, is it like marijuana, marijuana or coke or anything like that? Bath salts on the crazy side of life or whatever. So all that stuff you should know, not to mention, where are you going? Is it one story? Is it two story? How many rooms? How many people live there? How many people are supposed to be there? Have you got surveillance ahead of time? Typically when we run raids, run warrants, this and that, we never have problems with dyslexia or the wrong address on the house or not knowing who lives there and all that because, we have surveillance on that too. So my question is, 2:00 in the morning, kind of odd. How many officers went in? Was it a no-knock? Was it not no-knock warrant? What were the charges we were looking for? Was it necessary to do it this way? Was the breach done the way it normally is done? Who organized this? Was it a breach team? Was it a regular, warrant-serving team, like a fugitive team? When we ran, warrants, we want to get in, we can get in, get out, do what we need to do. People don't get shot, people don't get dead. Ain't no big deal, but you got to prep that. So was the prep done, or was this kind of like, hey, we just found out this dude's up there, let's go get him? Because those are crazy. Because it might not have just been him. It could have been 3-4 other guys in there too, shooting back and the whole deal. I mean, I have so many questions, and the answers, they keep changing.
I have questions, though, on how Daniel Cameron presented this case to the grand jury because he supposedly is endorsed by law enforcement. He has a great relationship with law enforcement. So what incentive does he have to keep it real if the officers are at fault and if there is some negligence? He has a lot to lose if they are endorsing him and they're, giving him donations and things like this politically, right? He's aligned with them already.
Well,
so doesn't that interfere in this case at all? Because he's kind of like...
No, it wouldn't interfere because the grand jury, his job is, probably not him directly, but it would come through the prosecutor's office or district attorney's office, whatever they call them there. His job is to collect all the evidence that they have, present the grand jury in such a way so they can indict or not. Meaning they get all of the information. It's a secret meeting, so it's not open to the public, which is another question people ask about. But the goal is to present, is there enough information to make an indictment against A, B, C, or D? And the answer is yes or no, based on the information presented.
If he's the guy, like to Natalia's point,
he's in charge of them all.
Right,
Yeah.
but if he's in charge of them, can't he manipulate what's being presented to the grand jury to
Or
make
pick
it
and
the
choose?
rules? Right.
He should not have that ability to do so. So the district attorney for the county that this incident occurred in prepares everything for the grand jury. They may run it by him, but he does not present that evidence.
Okay.
The evidence is presented by the district, let's say it's district attorney, because see the district attorney or prosecutor. The district attorney gets his people together, district attorney presents that to the grand jury decides. Now, as the attorney general for the entire state, that means he's got a lot of other things on his plate. So he knows about it because this is like a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a huge deal. But in terms of him actually presenting the evidence on a one-to-one, here's what actually happened from my words, I seriously doubt that's the case. Now, if he was running for governor, which he's not, then
Not yet.
maybe the attorney general might actually make that case. But then there'd be a lot of questions, about that because it's not the attorney general's call at that level. It's the district attorney's call.
I just read that Daniel Cameron was one of the finalists for Trump's nominations for the Supreme Court. Obviously went to Amy Dumbass, but
come on, man. Come on.
Dude, come
Like
on,
the
man.
Handmaid's Tale lady.
Right, yeah, it's 2020, man. You can't
Under
be
his
saying
eye.
that the men get to control I'd like to see you
Come
tell
on,
your wife
man.
that you get to control the house, Steve.
Listen.
Notice Steve didn't say a word. He just
He knows better.
Hey, Fred, you got anything else to add to this from a legal standpoint?
No, but I don't know the gentleman that was just
Eric.
speaking, but reiterate what he was saying. I don't know if you saw, but one of my friends, or a girl I used to date, she was an ICE agent, and she spoke on one of my posts. and she was saying pretty much some of the same things. Just the main thing with this case, I think, even if it was a no-knock, the police did not do their due diligence. They didn't do the surveillance work, and they didn't make sure who was going to be in the apartment. They could have sent in maintenance to check the apartment. They could have seen if someone else lives there. They could have checked to see if any registered gun owners were there. Different things like that they just didn't do their due diligence. And I think that's where the ball was really dropped.
Well, I think one of the biggest issues that I have is 2 a.m. Okay, this guy has not blown up Oklahoma City. Right. So 2 a.m. I mean, even if you knew that there were only 2 people in the house, this guy is not a major. He is not a big fish. Why?
Yeah.
It's not like you're going in to get Escobar or anybody like that. It's just,
El Chapo's not in the building. Right.
They were actually a low threat. It was a soft target. So her unit was a low threat. So I don't know why it would be a no-knock warrant anyway.
See, and I have that question.
So that's kind of strange, too. It's a low threat. So there's no need for a no-knock warrant if you're just going there looking for different evidence. So that was kind of weird.
And I would like to know, that's another question I'd like to know is like, of all the options to snatch somebody up, and, I've snatched a few people up that I can remember. And, I've never had an issue where it was, it was not necessary to do that. We've blown doors off buildings and shit like that where, we're going to come so damn hard. Ain't nobody going to do nothing but fall down and hope they're not dead when we're done. And, but you don't do that all the time. This was such a low threat, low yield.
Is that why there was only 3 officers? Like, I feel like when warrants are served, like, I don't know. I watch a lot of TV and movies, so like, you know better than I do because you. But I feel like there's always 10 or 12 guys there. Somebody covering the back door, somebody covering the front door.
It depends on. It depends on what it is. I mean, we've done warrants when there's been like 15, 20 guys because the place was large enough people in there, known the rooms, maybe whatever's supposed to be in the house.
Right.
And we might have additional agents because it might be drugs, might be explosives, might be whatever. But then on the other side of that coin, I mean, you got 2 people in a house, one's possibly sleeping, the other one really ain't nobody. Why you got to do a 2 o'clock in the morning raid? Because, 6 o'clock in the morning, I could knock on the door and go, yo, wake up.
Right.
They're like, what you want, man? Police, come on out. I'm looking for so-and-so. He not here. Well, come out, show me your ID. I don't want to. Well, if I come in there, it might be a problem. Would you like me to do that? Because I'll come back later and bring everybody. Or pick a side, and it's amazing what you could do if you do things, in different ways. So you don't always have to blow the sides out the building and flashbangs and everything else. And, in this case, this guy was such a little fish. I'm like, I wouldn't even be up at 2 a.m. trying to get in. and I mean, I'm seriously not saying it to be funny, but I mean, the more I look at this, I'm like, there's like a lot of questions. Why are we trying to make this guy into something? But really, ultimately, on the worst side of life, what happened is she got dead.
Right.
And at the end of the day, regardless of the no-knock, regardless of how many officers went in, regardless of how many shots were fired by him or by the police, right, she got dead. And was it really even necessary to do it the way they did? Now, if it was necessary and he was all that bad, all that, and
the guy was wanted for 4 murders.
If it was Pablo Escobar and you killed like half of his
Chapo.
family, it was like, you know what, that sucks, but
they would have called her
hey,
collateral damage. They would have called her collateral damage.
Right.
Said, we literally had no other option but to do it the way we did, in which case we'd have blown 2 walls off the side of the house and gone in there and took everybody out, called it a day. But, that's an extreme thing, and this is so far away from that. I just have, and I talked to some of my other cop buddies, and they're like, would you have ever done that? I go, hell no. Why would I do that? I said, I guarantee I could have just got him to give up, because I talk a lot, right? So he'd probably get tired of me talking, right? But I certainly wouldn't have done that. I just don't. I mean, there has to be a reason why they did that, and I think that's the biggest thing is that if they would come out and say, this is why we did it this way with these people involved, because I don't believe, and I don't know, this is my opinion, I don't believe this was like a fugitive squad, some sort of CAT team, criminal apprehension team. This was not a HRT or, I mean, these were not guys that were like,
That's what it
they
seems
do
like.
this
It
shit
seems
for a
like it was
living.
just 3 cops.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
amateur
yeah.
hour.
So
even
why?
even the videos is just 3
Yeah.
guys in regular uniforms.
Yeah.
Like
and,
there's
and
no.
of course,
yeah.
there's no video after the shooting. Apparently, like no body
Well,
cam
it
footage
got
for
leaked.
after that.
Well,
Some of
there
it got leaked today.
It's one
There
where the
is.
guy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Of course, it's a video of them giving first aid to the guy who got shot in the leg or something.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
that's,
other
that's
cop?
the only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
So-
read that supposedly the boyfriend released it, and he was not supposed to have it or release it. But it was evidence in the grand jury or in the
I'm
case
sure.
with the
I'm sure the grand jury
settlement
saw it.
Right.
and the settlement, and that video is part of the reason that the city settled with Breonna's family. or
And
something like
I'm
that.
sure the grand jury saw everything because the grand
Yeah.
jury is supposed to see everything. And for the people, just as a comment, and your guy Freddie can respond to that. But just as a comment, depending on the state you're in, but most states are very similar. Grand jury information presented is not public. It's not public for a reason because they get everything and then some that's not supposed to be out there in the world because of civil, criminal litigation and this and that. And that's a normal thing. So them requesting to get that information is not something that will probably ever happen because it would jeopardize too many other things.
Do you know if Kentucky has a law like Nevada and Texas, the no civil liability law?
I do not know offhand. I know there's 16 states that have it. Freddie might know. I don't know.
Freddie, are you still with us? Do you know if Kentucky has a no civil liability law?
You mean if they have immunity for the police officers?
Well, it's
No.
like Nevada
Yeah.
has a law that says essentially that if I have to use force to defend myself, essentially you go through the whole process. But if it's found out that I was legit in shooting somebody,
Well, here's a better way to put it.
all right,
Here's a better way, Freddie. So this will make immediate sense to you. If the shooting from the civilian side or the law enforcement side is ruled as justifiable or excusable, it means that the civilian that was injured, their family cannot sue. So the no civil liability occurs as opposed to a criminal case and then a civil case coming in. So I don't know if Kentucky has that.
okay. Hey, Freddie, thanks.
Yeah, they have they have qualified immunity
Okay.
for police officers.
But
Yeah.
not for civilians in a justified shooting? Do you know that?
Yes, for a civilian as well. Yeah.
Okay, so
All
there
right,
you
cool.
go.
Hey, Freddie, thanks for checking in. I know you got a baby to take care of. Thanks for taking the time to hang out with us today. Appreciate it.
All right, man. All right. Bye.
So this is my only beef. I won't say only, but my biggest beef with
I was
whenever
gonna say,
these
you,
shootings
you
happen,
only
yeah.
having
I was
one beef,
like- because this is the thing that bothers me, and I 100% believe this is why we have riots. This is why we have so many protests. This is why people get so upset, because regardless of everything that happened, right? The police kick in the door. The boyfriend hops out of bed, whatever, grabs his AR, lets off a shot, 2 shots, 100 shots, whatever. They shoot back. If they hit the guy that's shooting at them, I have no argument here. Yeah, they were serving the warrant, doing their
missed him,
job.
which is another
But
thing.
that's my thing.
Right.
They completely missed him and they killed someone.
Mhm.
Nobody's being held responsible for that.
I think
you
it's
understand
coming.
what I'm saying?
It's coming.
Like that's the thing that bothers me is a person has died, and the slap in the face with this particular case is the thing that he's being charged with is for the bullets that didn't hit her.
Right.
Like he's literally being charged for missing the person who was not shooting at him.
I think the
You
thing
know what I
that-
mean? Like that.
I mean,
I think the thing that bothers me more than anything is the fact that they went ahead and already tried to settle the civil end before the criminal end was done. I mean, they're still.
they threw $12
investigating.
million away quick. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, they were like, here,
Well,
like,
I know. I mean, my opinion, but I know they did that because they're trying to stop the riots.
right.
Okay, but if you put correct information out,
Yeah.
that'll slow a lot of that shit down.
But see, this is,
And it did not.
I feel like sometimes we lump cases together. Like, I don't think Breonna Taylor's the same as Tamir Rice, Derek Chauvin, and George Floyd. Like, to me, it's
They're different. Yeah,
Yes.
they're different.
Yeah.
it's a
For a
very
lot of
different
reasons.
right
For a lot of
situation.
reasons.
Like Mike Brown to me was a very different situation because he'd already been shot once by the cop, and if I shoot you and you're coming back at me, the fact that you have a bullet wound in you isn't enough to deter you from coming back at me.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm probably gonna light you up if you come, like, because now I feel like you are Superman and like I can't stop you with one bullet. So like I'm gonna do what it takes, at least what I feel it takes to stop you at that point. Like, why'd you shoot him 6 times? Well, because I shot him 5 times and he didn't stop.
Right.
You ever heard
Yep.
that before, Eric?
I've heard that. I might have heard that once or twice.
Yeah. All right. Now, Natalia's part of the show.
My part.
First of all,
what do you mean?
I really appreciate the parody video
Oh, it's great.
that you sent me. All the stuff that we talk about, all the links and everything is on our Facebook page at The Negro Please. Of course, you can check us out. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Negro Please. Social media, Twitter, all that. It's The Negro Please. You sent me this video that is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Disney. I don't know who did this, but Disney
They
definitely
got a lot of time on their hands. Whoever made this.
They. It's so
Did
funny.
you guys see it?
I did not.
Yeah.
Send it to me.
I'll send it. It's all the Disney princesses to WAP.
Okay, let me explain.
Yeah. Because it's. I don't know how to explain it because it's
you're
definitely
treading
not
so lightly. You're treading so lightly. No, so it's like they took all these classic Disney movies, but took certain scenes that matched the lyrics.
Yes.
So when she's like, I don't know, like the thing in the back of my throat, it's like the whale with his big mouth open. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like when when she's talking about the Big Mac truck, they're showing like the big truck from the movie Cars.
Right.
So they kind of like took all these clips of classic Disney movies and made it match to the WAP song, and it's the best thing ever. Disney's already taken it down like 20 times, and people keep reposting
It's awesome
it.
because when they talk about the Big Mac truck, like they show the truck from Cars, and then they show like Tinkerbell laying back with her legs open. I was like, whoa!
And they show like she's like says something about a big snake, and they show like the snake from Aladdin.
Yeah.
So it was very clever, and whoever did it, kudos to them because they had to watch a lot of Disney movies.
Oh, they had to watch a lot of Disney
to make
movies. to get this. It's on our Facebook page. So Cardi B went out and, which she should have done probably from the beginning.
Mhm.
She put out she trademarked WAP, and now she
Okay.
wants to have clothing and alcohol.
Oh my
What is
goodness.
WAP alcohol going to taste like? WAP beer. That is like
Peaches.
Apparently, Erykah Badu beat her to that part of it.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
did
got
she?
some.
She's got the candles.
Yeah, she's got
So
candles
did like
that.
Gwyneth Paltrow had candles also, right? That
Yeah.
smells like
Yeah.
smells like my
Smells like-
vagina or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I remember that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So she's got clothes and jewelry. Like I can't wait to see a girl instead of having those little pink underwear. She got the underwear that says WAP on them instead.
Goodness, man. Like,
I mean, people are hating on Cardi and Megan for doing that, calling them nasty and not classy, and like that's so But I think that this new generation is so empowered, and it's a beautiful thing to see. Because I feel like I'm a little bit of an OG in that I grew up in the '90s. That's when I fell in love with hip hop and got into the media industry. So seeing these new like 20-something millennials like owning their femininity and their sexuality, and then being able to like make money off of it. Because Little Kim definitely did not monetize her situation when hardcore came out.
Can you imagine
So,
if Little
right.
Kim came out today?
Like with her own wig line
Oh,
back then.
yeah.
Because remember,
Well-
she was popping for all the wigs,
Yeah.
and nobody even thought that far back then.
and that's the thing I was about to say. I was like, none of this stuff is new. It's not like we
Right.
haven't seen it 100 times
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
It's just the difference is the way that music is made now, the way that a lot more artists, I'll say, have more control over their own careers and,
Mhm.
And marketing.
taking more independent routes,
Yeah.
as opposed to just signing a deal and not doing anything else. It's just more monetized or more money
the
in it for
exposure-
them if they
The
if
exposure is
they take that
completely
route.
different too, because the
Right.
social media aspect is
Right,
like
yeah.
1,000,000 times greater than it was, in the 90s.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can literally if you get something that's legit out there, it'll take you about 10 seconds to hit 14 million people.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then it's on.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's so easy to go viral.
Freaky Tales came out 32 years ago.
Really?
Wow.
32 years ago?
32 years
Am
ago.
I that old?
Yes,
Damn.
you are.
Damn, I'm older than you. I'm really getting old. Damn.
Freaky Tales came out 32 years ago. And to me,
Mm.
like NWA was F the Police and they were cussing, but Freaky Tales was the first record that I can remember that was about sex and like put it out there hard. Like Too Short came
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
first time I heard Freaky Tales, I was like, oh my God. I want to be
How
Too
they
Short.
playing this?
Like I want to be
Well,
Too
see,
Short. Like
well-
I want to have like Keisha, Wanda, like
And that's the thing that I'm saying, like, cause I remember, and I was young, too young to be listening to it, but I had older siblings, so I listened, right? Cause they had it, right? But I remember Two Live Crew. I remember the Too
Yep.
Short.
Yep.
I remember NWA.
Yep.
So it's like when people come out, like when WAP came out, everybody's like, oh, it's so nasty and provocative. I'm like, where are you from? Like,
Right.
like what hole have you been living in? Because this is nothing. Like,
and there's a million
You know,
other
what-
songs that
Yes.
we have that like are even Like the first thing that
Worse.
comes to my mind is that song about the white horse, which is all about cocaine.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But nobody didn't know it because it was like the code word was white horse.
Yes, but what
Yeah.
about? I'm from Florida originally, right? So let's talk about Kaya, My Neck, My Back.
Yeah. Oh,
Let's
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
Trina.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like with all the girl rappers from Florida, they are raw and they've been talking about sex and
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember all those songs like
Yeah.
that. My Neck, My Back was the first song I thought about when I heard WAP. When everybody was like,
Exactly.
"Oh, this is so bad," I'm like, "Y'all
Yeah.
have not been around long enough to know."
And the crazy thing is,
Right.
if
what
you
bad
if
is.
you play My Neck, I don't care what the audience is,
right.
white,
Yeah.
black, Latino, Asian,
Yeah,
8 years old to 50 years old, they did My Neck.
they know it. They know it.
And they all mute the same part,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like everybody knows the song. Like
Yeah.
Right.
so, and I'm all for women's empowerment. My only issue is, how old is your youngest daughter?
9.
9.
So-
Okay.
I see where you're going.
Yes.
Yeah, I see.
So-
I can see
Okay.
it too. Huh?
So as a mother,
Mm-hmm.
and you've been in this radio industry for how long have you been in this?
Since '99.
Long, 21 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a hardcore reality check back in like 2002 because I'm driving down the road. I got a minivan because I got little kids, and my son's in the back.
Mhm.
And the radio station that I work for in Minneapolis, B96, is playing Ludacris.
Yeah.
Move, bitch. But obviously it's
Yep.
the edited version. It's just
Mhm.
move. And my son is 6 years old in the back seat going, move, bitch. Get out the way. Get out the way. Move, bitch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, I'm singing a song. I was like, how do you know that word? He's like, it's mom's favorite song.
Yeah.
So now I'm like,
Damn.
I got to go have a talk with mom over here. But like, hey,
Yeah.
you got the
Yeah.
baby boy over here screaming out, bitch, or I'm driving down the street.
Yeah.
So as a woman with a
Yeah.
9-year-old daughter,
Yep.
do you let your 9-year-old daughter listen to it?
Absolutely not. I have a 21-year-old daughter also.
Right.
Who is grown and she can do whatever she wants, but my 9-year-old, I think it's important as parents, we have to control what they listen to. We have to control their narrative.
Yeah.
But I also think we'd be stupid if we thought that, like, if I would be dumb to think my daughter's never heard WAP.
Right.
Even though I've never played it in the house, she's probably heard it, like, I don't know, on the radio or in the car with her grandparents or
All her friends.
or-
Right.
Your
right,
mom
or
and daddy be
friends.
listening to WAP?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think as a parent, it's hard. I know it's hard, but you got to teach kids the same way you teach them what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. You have to kind of do the same thing with music.
Right.
And I think for me, another one, it's not even the WAP, but like a lot of rap always says the N word, and
Right.
I don't want my kids, like. Right. So that's really hard too. But what I have done is I have all my Spotify, my Tidal, and everything on clean. So no matter what I listen to in my library, it's always clean, which I know is kind of lame, but that way I never
No.
have that issue.
I'm the same
you
way.
know?
I have certain playlists set up
Yeah.
that, like, when my kids are in the car,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I will enjoy this and they can hear
Yeah.
it. And a lot of it is, I got tons of like Michael Jackson, handful of Prince songs, because sometimes he gets a little, I just don't feel like explaining what that means. You know what I mean? To my daughters, but you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but I mean,
So you don't play Erotic City for your kids?
no, I don't.
You wanna talk about
you know what
diamonds
I
and
mean?
pearls?
Yeah, it's even like some songs on there. I'm just like, that's so deep into the code. They'll never
Right,
know what that
right.
means. Like, but I mean, you do it even with movies, right? There are times I'm watching the movie, and a lot of times with movies, I'm probably worse because they'll be cursing or like something that's probably just way too violent for them to watch. But my wife always is like, they shouldn't be watching that. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. Like, let's find something else. You know what I mean? But that's a part of parenting. Like,
Yeah.
that's what we should do. And the thing is like, yes, if something empowers women, great. But I'm sorry, 9-year-olds are not women yet.
Right.
They're kids.
Right.
Like, let kids be kids. Let's
Yeah.
protect them. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with a woman turning, 17 or 18 and just now figuring out, some adult things. Like, they don't have to learn all these adult things before they're 18.
That's
like,
not just for women. That's for boys.
anybody.
guys,
Yeah. I'll say,
But-
I agree. I agree.
Children, like,
yeah.
yeah. Because there's like, my youngest is 16. All my other kids are grown. So like, there are still some things that like, I would prefer my 16-year-old didn't know yet.
Right.
Like I don't want to like.
But you'd be crazy to think he don't already know from the internet.
I'd
and
be
'cause
crazy to
on the
think that he
phone.
doesn't have grown brothers and sisters that don't get in the car and play this stuff while he's in the
Right.
car.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know,
Right.
like, or they're telling him hey, we got to watch this movie because, like it's
Right.
this and that and the
Yeah.
other. And he watches whatever they watch. Like, so
Yeah.
I would be ignorant to believe that I could even stop that. Even if I told the older
Right.
kids, don't let your brother watch this.
Yeah.
They'd be like, don't tell dad we watched this.
Right. Yeah. And I'm a strong believer that if your kids come to you with something and they're asking questions and they're curious, if you don't give them an answer,
Somebody
they
will
will
give
go
them
somewhere
bad
else
information.
and get that information. So either they're going to get it from you or they're going to get it from someone else.
And you
And
should
information's
control.
everywhere. Information's
So, yeah.
everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
You should control the way your kids get the information. I believe that
You
100%.
should.
Yeah, 100%.
Because like you said, if you don't, they're going to go ask Tommy, whose mom is a hoe,
Right.
and
They're
got
not even-
14 boyfriends this month.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
like, it's not even that far. They're
Right.
going to go to the Google, and the Google's going to lay it up.
Right. Or
Because that's how it
TikTok.
works.
TikTok.
TikTok is
Oh,
terrible.
TikTok is
Yeah.
crazy.
Like my daughter was doing a lot of TikToks, right? And a lot of the times when you do a TikTok, it's 15 seconds. So it's like the beginning of a song. So you can get like the first 15 seconds of a song, but the songs are loaded into the TikTok system if you do want to do something longer, something like that, right? So she was doing this song and it was cute and it sounded good, but then like for whatever reason, it went over the 15 seconds and the lyrics started and I was like, oh, what is that song you're dancing to?
Yeah.
Like, because I had no idea. So I think even there we have to pay attention because it ended up being, I want to say it was like a Lil Jon song or something.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was something like a club song.
Yeah.
But it was just inappropriate. And you
Right.
would never know that from, just looking at these apps. You got to like really be in there. But I do drive-bys on my kids' phones.
Yeah,
Well,
I had my
on my
girls.
little ones.
They had
Yeah.
to get rid of TikTok
Yeah.
because it was just, when
Too
I
much.
look over and I see them doing dances and then all of a sudden I'm listening, I'm like, what are you saying? Nah, you turn it off.
Right.
Do you tell
Nah.
your kids that they can't hang out with? Like, yeah, you can't hang out with Jessica over there because I ain't feeling what her and her mama be doing there.
No, because I was Jessica. And looking back, I
Wow.
had problems, and the other kids' parents should have recognized that and been nicer to me, so I wouldn't have been so damn bad, So I try to be more compassionate towards the rough ones. I do.
But your kids
I
don't
take
know
them
none
in.
of that.
All
Though.
right.
They do now because my older
now they
ones
do.
are
Okay.
19 and 21,
yeah,
so
yeah.
they know now. But I didn't tell them until they were.
Mama
yeah.
was wild.
Yeah, Mama was
Okay.
wild. Yeah,
Back in the day.
yeah.
Yeah, one of my sisters
Don't
was
be
a
like Mama.
one of my sisters was a stripper. Boy, if you bring that up anywhere in front of her kids,
Oh, my God.
yes, I'm talking about it on the show. They already know now, so it's out there.
Oh, my God.
I didn't mention their name, so everybody
Well,
in the world
she
knows.
is an OG. Good
Yes,
for her,
yeah.
paving the way.
It's funny because now, like she became an entrepreneur and has been very successful. But it's just funny because every once in a while, when she wants to get lippy, be like, "Remember that time you was over there on the dance pole? Remember, like you did a whole like year and a half of that." Like she'd be like, "Shut up."
Hey,
And that's how we end arguments.
hey, sometimes you gotta,
You gotta
hit
make
the pole.
money,
I don't know.
Hey, did y'all watch P Valley?
I have not seen that yet.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
the best show ever about stripping, ever. Because it's not about the stripping; it's about the girls who work at the strip club. So good.
Okay.
Is it it's a reality show?
No, it's
Oh.
a show that was actually on, I believe, Stars.
Okay.
It's called P Valley. It's about a club called the Pink in Mississippi. It's a black strip club. It's owned by a character named Uncle Clifford, and he's non-binary. So he's
Oh.
very like sassy and fun, and he's one of the girls, but he'll also whoop that ass. And then it tells a story about all the girls who were like just hustling, trying to get their lives together. It's really good,
Okay.
really good. Y'all
I
gotta
used
check
to
it
live
out.
in Mississippi.
check it
I've
out.
seen some strip
Yeah.
clubs down there. Woo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't sit down on any of the couches. Like,
Oh, my God.
Boy.
I
don't get me
don't
started.
do Mississippi. I'm-
Did you guys- there was a
Mississippi's
strip
not
club
my
in
state.
there was a strip club, I think it was in Indiana, where like they were remodeling the place,
Mhm.
so they put all the old couches and stuff outside for free, and people actually came and bought or picked them up and like loaded them in the back of their trucks.
Mm-mm.
Like
They just need some Lysol.
Lysol,
Maybe-
look, I hate to tell you this, but some
Man.
things Lysol can't
Lysol only
You're
kills
right.
Know what I'm saying?
99.9. Like
Hey,
that
and that's
point
a-
one.
That's a big point one on stripper couches.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
Yikes.
like, look,
Everything's open now. Are strip clubs open, Quan? Do you know? They're
No.
still
Nah,
not. So
nah,
everything
nah.
in Nevada is
Soon.
open except for strip clubs
Soon.
and brothels.
Not everything, but
Bars are back open. What's not open other than strip clubs and brothels? Oh,
Yeah,
not yet.
clubs.
Clubs,
Clubs,
and
yeah.
the
Clubs.
concert venues.
some
yeah.
of the pools. Some of the
Yeah.
pools are open, some
Yeah.
are not.
yeah,
They're locking things down. So
I don't
strip
want-
clubs is enough.
yeah. I don't want
Mhm.
no stripper couches or furniture. I'd sleep on the floor. Thank you. I'll sit on the floor.
Yeah.
Nah, it's
Uh,
look.
Steve, you just brought up that you let your daughters listen to Michael Jackson music.
hmm
I don't even know. Like, so one of Michael Jackson's cousins
Gosh,
Mm.
yeah, I know where you.
claims to have his last IV bag.
No.
You can turn on the mic when you laugh. Go on.
Wouldn't that be evidence?
And it's Duh, right?
Like,
Like,
it's the bag that killed him. Like,
did she
Wow.
did she fill out the paperwork to get it from the evidence after the trial was over? But like, it's even supposed to be bloodstained. First of all, can we get a DNA test of somehow to make sure this is actually Michael's blood on here?
So,
but like,
why do you want anything with somebody's
Why do
blood
you-
on it?
why?
Like,
why do you want this?
What if you were super rich and you could clone him with the DNA?
oh my God.
I'm just saying, people are
look,
weird.
that clone Mike ain't gonna be nothing like the real Mike.
You right about
if Joe Jackson don't come back from the dead and raise him like it ain't gonna be.
It's not gonna look
it
like
ain't
him
gonna be
either
the same
way.
Mike.
Oh
yeah.
my God. And is it old Michael, young Michael,
Right.
mid Michael?
It's
What kind of
definitely,
Michael?
it's definitely gonna be Black Mike, but he ain't gonna be as good as the Black Mike we knew.
Mike did a lot of stuff to himself. He might not be Black Mike.
His cousin's name is Marsha Stewart, and she says she swiped the IV bag from the rented Holmby Hills mansion where Michael died. She claims she saw it near Michael's bed, and there was a white milk fluid,
No, I doubt it.
an accurate description of propofol, they said,
doubt
inside the bag, which has since
Nah.
dissolved.
I doubt it. That's a lie.
Yeah, like,
There's no way.
like the police come in there, like, how did, like, unless she was
Yeah,
the
she
very
could-
first person
And you know
there.
what? No.
What did she do? Walk in, see him dead, and then let me grab the IV.
Right,
Like,
right.
nah,
Wouldn't
that
you have
didn't
grabbed a
happen.
watch?
That glove, maybe.
Oh, my God.
Some white socks.
Take the damn IV back. Give me the jewelry. Like,
Dang.
Plenty of things she could have
Stuff,
got.
right. But the IV bag, like,
Oh man.
rest in peace.
Who's buying
MJ.
that? Like who's buying?
That's-
that?
somebody is
You know
going to
what I
buy it.
mean?
That's
A
the problem,
weirdo.
though,
Well,
right?
People will buy
Yeah, of
anything.
course.
Though,
Yeah.
you know?
Probably the
course.
kids who accused him
Oh.
of molestation. They'll buy it. Like
Yeah.
somebody will buy it, and they'll pay $100,000 for this thing.
Oh gosh. dude.
Disgusting.
100,000. It'll be way more than that.
Like Michael Jackson's last blood. Like, it just,
So gross.
That's
And that's the other thing, right? If that's real and it's actually blood on it, why do you want that? Are you that obsessed with
maybe
Mike?
you want to clone
There's
Michael.
some- there's
and you
some
want
I mean,
to
I
crazy
believe-
people.
I would believe
There's
there,
crazy
especially
obsessed
with
people,
Michael
for sure.
Jackson. I'm sure somebody is that obsessed.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I don't. You're crazy. I'm done. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, this is.
Well, you know, I went to, so
Ugh.
not like literally like a month or two after he passed. I was out in California. We were doing like the wine country, the southern wine country. So Santa Barbara County, all that. And we were up at his place, you know. And know where it is, been there before, not that big deal. And so we drove by, because I want to show my wife where it was, right? We drove by there, and there were like 100 people climbing the gates. He's got these beautiful, fancy, super gates. There's like 100 people climbing the gates and screaming and hollering, and I'm driving by going, this is crazy, right? And then I pull up over by the front of the gate, right? And, you know, there's like 3 brothers that have worked there, you know, not his brothers, but like 3 brothers. And they see me, and they see my big old giant truck, and they see me, and I got the windows down because the weather's nice. And then the one dude comes over, and he goes, so you want to come on in and get with everybody? And I'm like, I should go inside. They don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. I can get inside this place because I really wanted to go, and I had an in to get inside. And, you know, we've been around it before, and all this is not a big deal. But I did. But I was like, man, how are they going to get these people off these gates? I mean, these people were like climbing up the gates and the walls. And I mean, they were losing their minds. So I guarantee you there's crazy ass people laying around.
Same thing
someplace
happened
trying to get
in Minneapolis or
When
at Paisley
Prince-
Park when Prince died.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
people are
Yeah.
climbing, like, trying to climb over
They
the
were losing
fence.
their mind.
Yeah, they're losing their mind. Like,
Second Avenue.
Yeah.
They were camping at Second Avenue and First Avenue.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah,
Forever.
they were just like,
That's crazy.
it was crazy. It's kind of a sad story. Like, we're getting the wife side of the story, and so I'm no comment from the employers. Last week, some of you guys might have saw there was a shooting in the Bronx at a car dealership.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Guy grabbed his daughters, jumped to the ground, like to cover his daughters, and he gets shot. His wife is saying he's been fired from both of his jobs because he can't go to work because he's still got a bullet in his hip, and he's going through rehab and stuff like that. One of them, he's a construction worker and a painter. He's a painter at a maintenance company, and then he does construction work also. She doesn't feel comfortable naming the companies. He's been discharged from the hospital, but he still has a bullet lodged in his leg. He's going to need another surgery in the near future. And of course, there's crazy trauma to these kids, right? Like being
Yeah.
involved in this situation. So, what kind of employers like?
Why did they fire him?
Yeah,
I mean, that's the question.
Right.
Because I guarantee you she's not naming them because lawsuits are pending.
Yeah.
Right. But why did they fire him?
The only thing that that I would have to say, and look, these companies could very well just be straight up scumbags, right? But I'm trying to play like devil's advocate here and say, maybe this guy was late all the time, always calling in sick, used up all of his points or whatever.
PTO,
you know what I mean? And now all of a sudden he's got a real emergency, and they're just like, you know what, bro, you're fired. I mean, that could be something there.
Is he
you know what I mean?
Full-time, part-time contract?
Right.
temp?
Yeah. But
I mean,
because you
lot of
hear
that has to
this
do with the
story, you hear this story, and instantly you think like, man,
Who's
these are
that
some
cold-hearted?
scumbags.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
this
yeah.
dude's
Who's that
Wait.
cold-hearted?
This dude's a victim here.
But
Like, you know.
The GoFundMe has already raised hundreds of thousands of
dollars.
dollars.
Right.
it'll hit $1 million, and he'll
Yeah.
be fine.
And then,
And he'll be he'll be all right. But good for him. He did defend those kids. I mean, if you saw the video, he jumped quick.
Yeah.
I watched that video a couple of times, and I'm always watching these videos thinking like, what could you do? What would I do? What could be done better? And I'm watching, I'm thinking, there's
Yeah.
nothing. Like he did it. He
No,
did
he did
exactly.
that, yeah.
That's the only thing you can do is what he did, and he did as good as he. I mean, the only thing was if he was maybe 2 inches lower, he wouldn't have got shot. But I mean, who knows? I mean, you're trying to grab three kids,
right, and he's laying
you know
on
what
top
I mean?
of
And
three
he's
kids.
laying
right?
on top of them like there's nothing
So
else.
if he only had 2 kids, he'd have been 2 inches lower.
And,
that's so
thankfully, I mean, and you, in hindsight, thankfully he got shot because if not, that bullet very well might have hit one of the kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and it hit him in a spot that was not lethal. So
Right.
he survives. And best case scenario, he gets shot in the hip. He's fired, and he gets $500,000 from GoFundMe. I mean, God bless you, bro. I wish it was me. I'd take a bullet for $500,000 if I know I'm gonna live. Let me put that in there.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, I could call some people and see
if I get shot in the butt, if I get shot in the butt meat, like for $500,000, and okay,
who are you gonna let fire the shot? Me or Eric?
No,
I'm not.
I'm out.
Look,
I'm out.
I'm just hypothetically speaking here. I'm not saying I really want to do this. I'm just saying.
Well, speaking of getting shot, what do you guys think about Meg Thee Stallion and the whole thing with Tory Lanez? Okay, so we know he shot her. She went on the record saying he did it. He came out with the album, which I think is so disrespectful
It's beyond
to
tacky.
clout chase and
It
talk
is.
about it and try to play
And
the
then-
victim.
Right, and then he tried to say that he didn't shoot her. You the only damn person in the car other than her. You the
got a
only
gun.
damn person in the car.
She
other
had
than
on
her.
a bathing suit,
Dude,
and her friend had on a bathing suit. They did not have a gun. They didn't even have shoes.
but you didn't shoot her. Boy,
Look,
sit your
man.
5'2" ass down
But
and
why
shut
would
up.
he do that? It's so tacky to even
Because he's
do
trying to
that.
sell
Capitalize. He's
records.
trying to get
Yeah.
money.
But you know
Trying to
what?
get paid.
But here's what upsets me, because I seen a lot of radio stations, and I know I'm even going to talk about radio, but I seen a lot of radio stations posting his album, supporting it, like even big
Yeah.
stations in New York, like, oh, Tory Lanez's new album. So when R. Kelly did his thing, radio was like, bloom, move to the side.
Right.
Michael
Yeah.
Jackson, bloom, move to the side. Why is it okay? Chris Brown even, we
Yes.
moved him
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
side.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody got a timeout
That's
but
a-
Tory Lanez.
That's a different topic. R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, all of that. The subject matter was different.
Still terrible.
It's
think-
terrible. I'm not saying it's not terrible. The subject matters.
Because you're talking about kids, and we're in the country, especially right now when we're on a
But
leave our kids,
Even-
save
I would
our
even-
compare it
children.
to Chris Brown, though.
Chris
I would
Brown,
think
yeah.
it was very
he was
similar
in
to Chris
timeout.
Brown.
Yeah.
Nobody would mess with him.
And even the Chris Brown thing, because I heard stories that like he really didn't hit her, like she jumped on him while he was driving, he slammed on the brake, and that happened when her head hit the
Right.
dashboard, basically.
Yeah.
But
So I've
every
heard
time-
like
but
arguments,
Chris Brown
but
has
still,
had like 5 incidents over the last 15
Yeah,
years.
he
Well,
definitely
Even the
yeah,
last
so-
one in LA, like they moved his album release back because he had that thing in
It
LA
is-
where that
Yeah.
girl said he was holding her hostage.
Mm-hmm.
Like the entire LA County Police Department showed up at his house, like with warrants and
Yeah.
everything, trying to get in the house.
And I think there is a thing where in the case of Chris Brown, where when similar instances happen enough, because there was even incidences with Chris Brown and Rihanna that didn't make big media
Right.
before she got the bruises when they were on their way to their award show.
Right.
So with them, it was like, well, yeah, this dude has at least gone upside her head once or twice. Maybe he didn't right here,
Right.
but he's definitely done it, right? So the thing with like Tory Lanez, like Meg Thee Stallion was definitely shot.
right.
Yep.
So when they
No
get out of the
question.
car and they don't have any weapons on them because the police show up and make them get on the ground and all
Video,
that,
the
right?
helicopter
Yeah,
was
and there's
there.
video and and everything. Like, who else was shooting? Like,
Right.
you trying to say the driver shot her or something?
Right.
Like,
Right.
no, it was you, bro. Like, so I don't know. Like, I canceled this guy right away. My
Yeah.
only beef, and I never victim blame, so I'm not blaming like Meg Thee Stallion saying this was her fault. But my only beef with this is I really wish that night, and I get she was trying to protect him to an extent, but that night, maybe not right away because you don't want the police to shoot another black man, When everybody is out of the car and the police got everything calmed down, that's your time to go, excuse me, officer, I didn't step on glass. He shot me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that
you
is
know
the
what I'm
one
saying?
thing is
But
like
she was trying to protect him.
right.
Right,
And,
but
and
if,
she didn't even release a statement for like a week.
But that's my
Yeah,
thing. If
that
you're
was
trying
the
to
other thing.
trying to protect him, why come out a week later and not try to? And now you're not protecting him. Now
Well,
you're
because
trying to
he-
ruin
because
everything in his career. I don't understand
because
that.
he ran his mouth.
Yes.
And she was gonna just let the process play out. Then he got on social media and ran his mouth, and she was like, "Whoa,
Yeah, you did it.
yeah, you did this. Don't even act like you know."
And on one side, I get that. But then here's my other beef. Because granted, I would never sympathize with a person who abuses people, a pedophile, a rapist, domestic violence. I will never sympathize with that. But here's my beef with the victims. When it happens, I get it. Like, you don't want the embarrassment. You don't want all the shame and all these other things that come with it. But when you have the opportunity to get this person off the streets before he shoots another female rapper in the foot, before he shoots some other chick or whoever and kills her,
Right.
say something. Don't wait until he disrespects you on the internet. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like do something. Like, even if it wasn't that night, the next day, go to the police station. Hey, last night, what really happened was this dude needs to be taken off the street. He shot me. You know what I mean?
I think she didn't want to be labeled a snitch.
Well, we had a whole.
That's
Okay.
my, oh my
I'm not
God.
agreeing with that. I'm not
We did a
co-signing.
whole
No,
show
and
about this
that-
once with
that's such-
Takashi, and
It's
and
such
this
a
no stitch
problem.
mentality is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's such a problem in the black community. This no snitching,
not-
no
it's
snitching,
minority
no snitching.
communities.
In the
It- I
minority
mean,
community,
yeah.
poor communities, no snitching, no snitching. We have to stop protecting savages. Period. We have to stop it.
Tell us how
Everything
you
is not
really
a
feel,
snitch.
Steve.
Listen, if you and your boys go rob a bank and you get caught and you don't want to snitch, fine, don't snitch, okay? If somebody does something to you that can potentially end your life, like, I don't know, shoot you, that ain't snitching.
Right.
Because here's your options. Either you got to kill that person or you need to get them off the streets, okay? And I'm not advocating for you to kill anybody. So go and let them know it's not snitching when you get shot.
Unless she's in love and didn't want to get him in trouble, which is the case a lot of the time.
Ladies,
So-
stop being in love with people who shoot you.
But she also probably
it
was
so
considering
hurts.
what would happen to him in the system compassionately, which I know sounds crazy when you're a victim, but you got to
And it-
understand
and it
domestic
does.
violence
But that
and
happens all the
relationships.
time.
And that's
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
why I'm so upset about it, because why are you still being compassionate and caring about the future who somebody who just almost ended your
But we
life?
see this
But that happens
all the time with
I
women.
know,
time.
I
Especially
know.
with women.
That's my
Occasionally
beef.
men,
And
but
you
it's-
know what else we see? They come back later and kill them.
Yes.
You understand? The second shot ain't gonna be in the foot.
Right.
In fact, Minnesota
understand?
actually has a law now. It's been enacted for probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years, where that if the police get called to a domestic violence situation, somebody has to go to jail.
Oh, it's longer than that.
Yeah, like-
Minnesota's had that way longer than that.
Somebody
That's
has to
been
go to jail, whether
that's
there was
been-
actual violence involved or not.
late 80s, early
Yeah.
90s.
I think it was early 90s. Yeah, yeah.
that's-
Somebody has to go to jail, and the reason for that is because they not only do they have to go to jail, but I think they have to be in jail for 12 hours or 24 hours.
It's most states are roughly it's roughly the same thing. You either one person has to leave or somebody has to go in custody. It's 12 to 18 hours depending on the state. It's just a standard domestic violence thing. And the cops can't be sued for it. So what we used to do was, you, her, get into it regular basis. Somebody's ass going to jail. Because you know what? We will not get called out again for 12 to 18 hours, because if you let them walk and then they get back into it within the 12 to 18 hour period,
That's what
the
happens.
police are liable. So you know what we do? Somebody's ass going to jail.
Yeah, right.
Damn.
Because
And that's
now
what happened
we
in Minnesota
definitely will
was
not have
that
to work. Not necessarily mean charges are going to be filed, but what that means is that, like, you hit her, your ass going to jail.
they call it the
Am I
cool
worried
down
about it?
period.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that was a great thing when it came out, because even if no charges were filed, I know you will not hit her for another 12 to 18 hours, because you know what? Your ass is going to be locked up.
But here's a
And
question.
that takes a lot off of us, too.
They found the gun that Tory Lanez used to shoot Megan, and they said the ballistics matched, right, with the bullet in her foot. And why hasn't he been charged?
No
like from a
testifying.
lawn? Is that why?
No testifying.
Huh.
No victim, no crime. And I hate that, because I think it's the stupidest thing.
No.
I don't need you to testify. I know you pulled a trigger.
Right.
I know the
Right.
bullet right there. I got the bullet. I got you with the hole in you. I know you don't know one in the car. Done. Right? And they should charge those people, but then politics gets jumping in and everything.
Man,
It's like, well, we
And
really
rich
don't
people
think
have
it's
rich
worth that.
lawyers.
Well, and lawyers, my God, that's a whole nother story. But that's how it is. But you literally have to have somebody that's willing to testify. And just like the domestic violence thing, a woman will get beat damn near to death. We will throw his piece of shit ass in jail. He will stay in jail until Monday morning at 6 a.m. She's trying to get him out so he can go to work. Otherwise, if he can't go, you think I'm kidding?
No, I believe you 100%. I believe you.
He'll have to go to work because otherwise he's gonna be mad. I mean, we used to get calls like every Friday night at like 11 o'clock. Dude, get off work at 5, cash his paycheck, go get hammered, stroll in about 11 o'clock at night. Bitch, get your ass over here. The next thing you know, 20 minutes later, somebody's calling the police. So 11, 11:30, 12 o'clock every night, we would literally go to the same houses consistently for the same damn thing. And these women, they would get the crap beat out of them until they woke up one night and stabbed his ass 18 times.
Yeah.
And that was the end of that
Right.
shit.
That part.
And I mean, it happens all the time.
I'm getting off subject, but I got to ask you a question. As from a cop standpoint, right? There's a case in Racine, Wisconsin right now where this guy, they know he was trafficking girls.
Mhm.
They know he had girls locked in his basement. They know like everything there is to know about this guy. One of the girls had to escape and she killed him.
Mhm.
Now she's being charged with murder, first degree murder, because they said she planned this. And my thought process is, of course she had to plan it, right?
Right.
Like this had to be planned. Like
Yeah.
the police weren't any help because the police have been to the house before. Like she had to plan this. Like she had to know, okay, he gets back at 10 o'clock at night. So like I have to be
Right.
ready at then because I can't do anything while he's in the house. Like
Right.
how is that even a charge?
It's still a charge because here's the deal. They're going to look at it and they're going to go, she planned this, which is premeditated.
That's exactly
a
what
charge. So a charge needs to occur. Otherwise, other people will be thinking, I need to find a way to kill this motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't mean they're going to be prosecuted. It's a charge. Much like the whole deal with Elizabeth Smart
Yes.
and the whole
Okay.
thing, right? A charge occurs because a crime was committed. Are they going to prosecute?
Well, that's
Another
the problem
story.
that the DA is getting into in Racine is because he's trying to prosecute this.
And they
And-
don't want him to.
Right. Everybody else is like, why?
The guys-
She did us a favor, and
Right.
Because
she
if
was
you-
obviously abused.
If you don't do something, it will literally tell other people, hey, you could do this.
Yeah.
And this is how you do it, and you will get away with it.
But see, there's
And-
a part of me that's
I'm not saying I
Okay with, like-
disagree
like-
with it because
right.
you can go all the way back to the whole burning bed thing 1,000 years ago, where that woman tied his ass down, she set his ass on fire, cooked him, right?
Yeah.
And got away with it.
right,
But here's the deal: you can't just advocate for that.
right.
Right.
So
Right.
something has to be done because you will get people that will take half of the story and go, well, that dude that treats me like the woman that just stabbed a guy down here in Henderson I told you about.
Yeah.
Okay, put his ass to bed. He was verbally abusive, never physically abusive, and so she stabbed him like 18 times. He woke up dead. The thing is that you can't. You have to do something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, other people will, not knowing all the facts,
Yeah.
they'll go,
It's just open season on.
you know what? I guess I can figure out a way to
Yeah.
kill him because she did it
Yeah.
and
He
got
was.
away with this.
He was mean to me. So
doesn't mean
yeah,
charged.
Got you.
Doesn't mean prosecuted.
Mm.
So the end of the story will be, what did they actually do with this? And there's been a lot of domestic violence cases where a woman has gone through all the abuse and everything that goes along with it. And then at some point she's gotten to the end and, she's killed the guy, then she's hired Gloria Allred,
Right.
who comes out for all those things. And
She was my lawyer once.
Was she?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she
That's
did.
my girl.
You know what?
That's
you
my
win?
girl.
Hey, listen.
I did. The matter was settled.
And she is good. And she is good. And I was involved in something. I can't remember the details. I was involved in something, and we beat her ass, but barely.
Yeah, no, she'll show up.
She like me. She like me. She don't like to lose.
No.
Right, no.
Hey,
So, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
No details allowed, but I'm very, because y'all, these guys know, I don't like to lose,
Right.
right? Ever. So, but if you have something like that and certain things are not done,
Yeah.
other people will get the idea they could do that, and then then you got crazy.
It's interesting.
So that's why
There,
we'll
the
wait and see what happens.
The original case I can remember, and you'll probably remember this, years ago. God, it was in the 80s. There was this.
Because I'm old. I got you.
Well, no, because
I
you
heard
were
you.
like getting
Old.
ready to be a cop at that point.
Yeah,
Um,
I hear you.
there was this guy whose son was molested by a guy, and the police went and got him, and they were bringing him back. I don't remember what state it was in, and they're in the airport, and the guy, this video, you
Yeah,
can still
I
find
remember
this on
that. Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah.
The guy's pretending like he's on the payphone.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The guy walks by and he turns around and shoots him in the head.
Yeah.
There's
I
been a
remember
bunch
that.
of those. There's
Yes.
been a bunch of those.
And he
Yeah.
got eventually.
It's back east somewhere. I
No,
can't
the
remember.
jury wouldn't convict him because they're like, if that was my kid, I'd have shot him too. Essentially,
Yeah, of
Right.
course, right.
but we see because that was the first one of those cases that I can remember that got like major headlines and major news.
Yeah.
And nowadays you see people go, well, no jury will convict me, and it's
Right.
because that was the precedent.
But here's the problem that you may have, right? I know he's about to cut this off.
Yeah.
Here's the problem that you may have is that no jury may convict you, but you know what they'll do? They'll switch that from a jury to a judge trial in a second.
Ooh. All right, guys, thank you for watching today. I'm Dallas Scott, Hollywood Huff, Eric Kelley, Miss Natalia Hernandez, and Mr. Quan, the producer. We'll be back next Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you guys very much. Don't forget to check us out on socials. All social medias, we're just The Negro Please, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.